Right. So today's agenda. This is what we are going to cover today. Not the last two because that needs a special attention. So we'll keep it for tomorrow and we'll start from the tables and the table components. Okay. So on this we'll cover these. So I'll straight away for the properties and triggers, I'll recover what we had yesterday. Okay, where is my desktop? Here. Okay. So yesterday we saw tables. I hope everyone understands the hierarchical structure of the logical database with fields, records, tables, and companies. Okay, so table forms the second last logical structure, and in tables we have fields, and both the components have their own properties. So we'll see the different types of fields that we have, and we'll see the various properties for both of them, and we'll try a few properties here that, and we'll see the effects of those properties. So right now I have this table. Okay, let me create a couple of fields here. I will make entry number, and it is always integer in our application. Then we have type, and I create it as option type. Now for the option type we have to set, we should have an option when I create it as an option type field. Okay, so what I will do is I will go to the field properties. So how do I go to the properties? I select that particular field, and here it is. Okay, so here I see this particular property as option string, so I set it up a few of it as custom item, customer, vendor, and let's say GL account. Okay, so this is the option string which I have selected here. I'll show you the effect of this after saving the table. Along with, I would also explain you these two here, option caption, so I can bring it down right here, and caption ML. Okay, caption ML is multi-language, so here I can set up the multi-language captions here. I really don't know the Swedish of these, so I'll try a couple of them. Okay, for example, I have Swedish. It should be article. It should be kund. Vendor. I'll keep it as vendor. Okay, I don't remember that, and I don't remember this as well. GL account. Okay, so there we go. So we set up the two language captions here, and by default the caption is this. So whenever I change the language of my application, it selects the respective caption. Okay, so the purpose of this particular property is that, and I close it right here. The next one we select as number, which is always code. For these kind of fields, code, it is alphanumeric field where I can set values. When I say alphanumeric, it is like it can have values such as my number series, for example, K100. Okay, so it is an alphanumeric, or it can also have just this. Now, it is a number, but in this field it is stored as a alphanumeric string, or it is stored as a string rather, I should say. Okay, then next is name, and name is always a text. I can set the length of these, it will be maximum to 255. So name again is an alphanumeric, and alphanumeric, the difference in this, let's say if I put it as this, it will stay as it is. Okay, but in this code and text, both being alphanumeric and strings, the basic difference in these two is that when I type a value, let's for example if I type this for this code, though I type in small case, the table will convert it into uppercase. Okay, however here it will take as it is. Okay, so this is a description, it is not converting, it will convert when we have it, or when we run the table we'll see the values there. Okay, so we have one more, or that is, let's say, amount of type decimal. We can have values of like 1.00 or 2.34, etc. And here a certain property of this field, it says blank zero if we are allowing zero values. Okay, and it says when we run this, let's say if I have put it as blank zero, yes, that means on a page when I see a decimal field with this property yes, it will not show me zero, it will show me blank. Okay, something like this, there is no value. Okay, instead of zero, so I leave it as default. Then blank numbers, should there be a blank value, a blank value be allowed, so this particular property sets that. So it says don't blank, that means don't blank it, no zeros. And decimal places, okay, decimal places is minimum ratio maximum. So what is the minimum I can have, and I say maximum to zero. Okay, so when I say 0 colon 2, it means 0 colon 2 is minimum decimal value colon maximum decimal value. Okay, so that is like when I say 0 colon 2, so an example of this would be 2, or let's say 2.34. It will not accept 2.345 because it has 3 decimal values. I have given maximum as 2. So if I say 1.2, let's say if I say 1.1 colon 2, then it has to have this, at least one decimal value. Okay, so that's what this property is for. So we don't set it, we don't, I remove this. What else? Table relation, I'll come to this in my next example. And right now we'll just cover the different types of fields. Okay, so we have seen a few of them here: integer, option, code, text, decimal. And I save this, it gets saved. These are nothing but my referential values. Okay, description is just if I want to refer to something, I can mention a description. Now I saved my table. It's important that it has the unique values. Okay, to accomplish that I must have a primary key. Okay, so primary key, if I go to view and keys, okay, I see that it has taken by itself as entry number as primary key, because entry number is the first field. The moment I save the table, it becomes the primary key. So a primary key has can have maximum of 40 fields as its component. For example, okay, I go to primary key here, and I can add few more fields to this. Okay, let's say type, I can add number, I can add, so all these three becomes my primary key. Okay, so all of them together must have a unique value in each record, then it forms a primary key. It cannot be duplicated. So I move these, I leave entry number as the primary key. So apart from primary key, there is second type of key, that is secondary key. Okay, guys, do not get confused it with your database concepts where they have defined foreign keys and a lot many. Okay, behind in SQL the concepts are same, but in this application we have just two types of keys. Okay, the kind of keeping all the records as unique is important in all the databases, and this is also a relational database. Okay, so here we try to create a secondary key. I just move to the next line here, and I go to this to get a field list. I select type, and I go to this. So, and I select, I click OK here. So it becomes a composite key. Okay, you must be able to relate it a bit. So a composite key is nothing but a combination of a few fields. So here I have two fields here, type and number. So it is my secondary key. So there can be a duplication of these records. Okay, but there must not be a duplication of primary key, and I can have maximum 20 keys. A list of 20 keys can be created here, including the primary key. What important here to note is when I mention that a key can have maximum 40 fields, it means that whenever I create this, primary key gets attached by itself. Okay, so it becomes like this. So that means though I created my secondary key has two fields, but behind the scene, my database, it attaches the primary key to the secondary key, so that though it is two, but actually it is three behind. So in a way, if I have, let's say my primary key has, assume my table has 40 fields and my primary key has 20. So my secondary key cannot have more than 20 fields, because the 20 primary key fields also has to be attached. Okay, so uh, though that scenario will hardly come, but it's good to know. So 40 is the maximum field number of fields in a key, and 20 is the maximum number of keys. Now this is a secondary key. You see this button here, this radio button, it says enabled. I can enable or disable my secondary key, and I can save it, no problem. But I cannot disable this. It will never allow. You see this? It says must be active. So the primary key always have to be active. So I again enable this. I don't mess up with this more. We leave it. Now let's create one more secondary key. Do we have some more fields? Okay, I have name, I have amount. We keep it here, and this is inactive and this is active. So we can save it. Okay, so the first one is always a primary key, the rest others are secondary keys. Secondary keys are nothing but a combination of fields, can be one field, and in the last the primary field is appended, though we don't see it, but behind the database that's how it works. So we leave it here, and I think I must show you the field groups. Okay, the field groups. Rather, I'll show you an example of this. Here we have not defined any field group, but this is nothing but the name of the fields. How does it work? How does it affect? In my application, okay, if I go to sales order and I open this sales order, you see this sell to customer number here. So when I drop it down, I see number of fields here. Okay, number, name, city, postcode. This is nothing but a list of customers, but important to note is these six fields that I can see. Okay, so I will show you how these fields have come. So if I go to the customer table number 18, in the customer table, if I go to view and I see the field group, you see these six fields here. So it says drop down. I've defined it. Okay, so these six fields are the same fields which I see here on this drop down. Okay, so that is nothing, it's just a field group. I can define it, which has to be shown when it comes as a drop down. So that is one thing. And okay, what next? Yeah, we'll go back to our table. Our table is 90,000. Should we see some more properties here? Yeah, we see enabled. Enabled is on a page. If it is enabled, it helps me to input the data. Okay, see this right now I cannot enter in any of these. Okay, though it is, even if I, there are some fields which are deactivated. Okay, or rather I should say disabled. Okay, so there is another property here, editable. Okay, so when I turn it no, it becomes like this. This is disabled, false, or even if we enable false, okay, that is disable, uh, uneditable or disable, these both properties restrict any action on that particular field. Okay, if the enable is false, then the particular control or the particular field will not be focusable. When I say focusable, it is like using tab. I'm able to go on this field, like this, tab. With, if it is enable false, then it will jump over. Okay, so not important, but good to know. So then we have a minimum value, maximum value. So these kind of uh, properties can be used. Let's say, okay, I create one more field here, and we create it as not integer, we'll keep it as, let's keep it as integer, that will be easier. And I set this minimum and maximum value. I say minimum is 0, maximum is 100. That's the percentage. Okay, so we keep it, and I just save it. So we'll just run this table right from here in the bottom, and entry number, I can put some entry number here. Next is type. So if you see, I defined some types, so I see four of them. item, customer, vendor, GL account. Number has nothing and name has nothing. Okay, now we have to see the difference in code and text. So I'll type the name first here, and you see the difference. It is caps. Though I'm typing it in small case, it converts into caps. So because this is a code field, this is a text field. Another difference is, in a code field, if I have a space, it trims it, it removes. But in text field, it always keeps the blank. Okay, for example, if again I come back, you see this highlighted string, it does not have space, it will always have. Okay, I did not give it here. If I give it, I can, you see this, the difference, there's a space here. So the text does not trim down the blank spaces, the text does. Amount is again a decimal field, so we say 2.345. It does not allow me because I think I have a maximum two decimal places. So what I do is I remove one. It allows percentage. We set some minimum and maximum. So what I do is I put up 90%. That's fine with it. What if I make it 105? It does not. Okay, so these are some properties which we can use. Okay, let's make it 1%. It should be okay. Now primary key, again it has to be unique, and I think we can use one property, auto increment. Let's try to use that. If this works, it is a very sometimes it behaves very tricky. Auto increment, I say yes. We'll see the effect of this. We run this table again. Okay, it says item. I type Nikhil, blah blah. You see this, it becomes 2. So that auto increment, I set the property for this particular field, so whatever the value it has, it will auto increment it. So that's one. Next comes, do we have to set any table properties? Lookup page ID, no, I'll rather show these properties in one of the existing table because we have not yet created any pages for this particular table. So I go to 18 customer and I go to design, and see, I cannot see the table design table properties until I reach the last and on a blank field. On a blank field, if I click here, I see the table properties. Okay, so as we see, caption again ML, that is multi-language. You see this here, that is Swedish. So if I turn Swedish language on, the caption of this particular table will become as defined in the property. Description is of not relevance, it's just to make a note. Data per company, as I said yesterday, this is to segregate the data per company, and by default it is yes. In case we have to share the data, who's this? Okay. So in case we have to share the data across companies, then we have to make it no. Okay. Now in this case, what happens is, in any company we are, and if we insert any data into this table, will be available across all the companies. It is visible across all the companies, so that logical boundary is crossed. Okay, so by default it is yes, but if our functionality or if our business cases says that we need a table which where the data has to be common, then we can use this property. Permissions, we can set the permissions for this particular table. It is a customer table, and I say that on the on this table I can set only the read permission here. Okay, see here, object id, read, insert, modify, delete. I can do it through code, and I can have a restriction over that. So right now on this table, the customer ledger entry, if we have a lookup, it will have only the read permissions. Okay, we can customize those permissions if we need it. Lookup page, it has a customer list. Drill down, customer list. So customer list is nothing, we'll find it in the object designer. Let us go to object designer, we'll find the customer list as a page here, 22nd. Okay, so that means that, for example, if I have a sell to customer here and this is a page. Okay, so it is uh, either we can have as a lookup or as a drop down. Okay, we have to define the page that needs to be upon. If we don't set this property, we will not be able to have this particular, there will be no action happening, okay, on this. So that needs to be set. Where is, okay, what more? Data caption is when we, let's go to this, let's go to customers rather than this here. I don't think we really use this property anymore, but anyways, no problem. Let's see that. You see this on the top. When we open this customer card, we see two details: customer number and the name. The reason of this is because I have defined number and name here, so that says data caption field. So I can add couple more things so that I can see few more details here on the top. Okay, so it's for that. Paste is valid. Paste is control. If we are copying some data from the other object, if that paste is valid or not. Usually we don't allow that, uh, and particularly in the ledger entries. Okay, no copy and paste. We always treat the data through processing. We write code to import and export the data for uh, for the tables. Okay, linked object, will not discuss it for now because it has more things, because if we open this, then it has linked in transactions and other details. These are for the uh, in our future discussions we'll discuss this. It is related to the SQL database and the external entities as .NET components, if there are any. So that property is for that purpose. So those are some of the properties we have discussed. I'm not sure how many of them are available in the manual, but at least you have them. We have them recorded, or you can Google them. Okay, so we have seen a couple of them: data type, enable, data length. Okay, data length, whenever we have code or integer text type, we have to define the data length. Init value, whenever we go for a new record, what can be the init value, we can set that. It can be a, it can be b, c, d, or anything else. Field class, we'll discuss it tomorrow when we go for the advanced or a special class of fields. Okay, normal field or flow fields or flow filters. Okay, so we'll discuss it then. Okay, some other important properties: numeric, no. Characters allowed, I can see this is a code. I can define here what characters are allowed. Okay, if I say only this, so that means only the caps case is allowed. Okay, so I can mention these properties down here. and test table relation. Test table relation is in a database. We can run the test. Okay, you see this whenever we not in the designer, when we run the database. So we can test the database for the relational errors, okay, or how the database, how healthy the database is. Okay, so in that case, when we set these kind of relations, do we expect it to test that relation? Okay, why this particular here is because what if we have a table relation and that table does not exist anymore? So when we take a backup of the database, we usually test it. Okay, so in that test, do we want these table relations to be tested? So that is the purpose of it. Okay, so we leave it here. We move on to the table relations. Okay, okay, so I go to my table here. How do we have the lookup? So let's say lookup, I go to number and I set the table relation as item. Okay, so I can have a lookup also here. You see this? It takes me to the table and I can go to this lookup and I see 27 as item and I can click OK. And then again I click OK and I see this. Okay, so I save this and I run my table. So this number opens me with the table now. Okay, because I have set the table relation to item. Now for example, I want to open a, this lookup on some conditions. For example, here in this type I have defined these different masters. Okay, item, customer, vendor, GL account. So what I want is that when I select customer, okay, this lookup should change accordingly. Right now it is always item. No, that's not how it should be. Before that I will just we leave it. Okay, what I do is I go to number, I go to the properties, I go to the table relation, and here you see one condition. So what I do here is I go to this condition. Now my condition, what I'm saying is it should be based upon the type value. Okay, so I click OK. I have few parameters here. I take it as constant. I say when it is item, it should be item. Now second one, I say that when it is customer, it should be customer. Fourth one, I say when it is vendor, it should be vendor. The last one is GL account. So here we go. Now accordingly we have to set the table relationship. We have to look up number 18, number 27, no, or 23, and GL account is it 17? No, it's 15. Okay, so I have set the conditions now. Okay, we click OK and we save it. We can I'm using a short key Control S for saving. Otherwise you can save it from here also. Okay, save, Control S. So we save it. Let's try to run it now. Okay, now I have customer here and I see what comes. Okay, so this is a customer list. Now it is an item here and I can select item. Now I can select vendor. Let's do this. So it is vendor. We select the last one, that is GL account. This is the GL account. Okay, so this is, we have set up the first we look at the simple relation. The second one we looked at the conditional relationship. So this falls under the conditional relationship. Okay, so there we go. Now we see here that though we have selected it, but the names and all are not changing. So for this, we have special fields, we can use them. So we'll see that tomorrow how to do that. And or we can use the code. I'll run a simple code here. I will write a code and we'll see how the code helps on how the code helps on the population of data, or what we call the the values. How do we see the fitment of those values when we select it. So I write the code on one of the triggers. So I go to test. Yesterday we saw some of the triggers here. Sorry, this one: on insert, on modify, on delete, and on rename. So what I want is that when I select a customer, I must see the name. Today it is not happening. So for that, it has to be number when I select. So what I do is I will create a new variable. You don't have to do it. You just look at it because your code will start, I think, 2 weeks from now. So that will be easy for you. So I take customer and so I write as number. Okay, I do use some lookup here. I see name. I think I need not have to. Okay, so I run. Let me close all of these. I don't need any of them. Okay, I open it again. And I go to a new record. I select customer and I select one of the customers here. So you see the name has come. Okay, so we can write some codes for the validation. Okay, now where did I write that code? I wrote that code on the validate of this particular field. So these are some triggers which we can use. Okay, so let's see if I have missed something from our agenda down here. Field groups, we have seen fields, field properties, field triggers, primary keys. We have created table. We have seen a secondary key.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
So whenever we make changes in the development part, the changes are reflected as well as in the application part.
See, if you look at this, the what we see now is only the user interface. Okay, but what the changes I did was in the object designer here. Okay, so this is my business logic, what you see here. So whatever the changes I'm doing here, it always gets validated whenever I run an environment. Okay, so when I was running an object, it basically cross checks any uh, code validations or the properties validation behind. Okay, so there are two things here. This RTC is nothing but a user interface, a representation of the data. This object designer is the environment where I'm doing all the changes. Did I answer you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let me see if I miss anything more here. Make it big. I did not create these.
Sir,
Yes. Yeah.
so can we define our own properties to the fields?
No. We have to use the existing properties. We
Okay.
cannot define ours. Okay. So I did not create this particular table here because the manuals that you are having is using the same uh, fields and tables. Okay, so it will be a lab for you, okay, to create it. But we have seen all of them except this date field. Date field is simple. I can show that. Okay, but let me see if with anything else I'm missing. Table relation, we have seen one to many. We can have a many to many or one to one relation. First of a kind was one to one relation, where we just opened item table on lookup. Then we had one to many. One field was opening many relationship. Okay, so we can set the table relation properties accordingly. So that was nothing but conditional table relationship. Okay, so when you will go through your lab, it will let you do all these relationship set, and it will further be a repetition to what we have seen now. Filter table relation, I think this we did not see. I can show you this filter table relation. Okay, on this, first let me delete this code. I'm deleting this code. I don't want this. Filtering, I know that I have set this table relation. So what I do is I go into the properties, I go into the table relation, I see the table filter here. Okay, so I go into this as I said it, and I see here. So I want to filter the items which has the unit price as 0. Okay, so I have the unit price here. I double click this and I set the value as 0. Okay, I keep it on the top. It's disturbing. So I click OK, and again I click OK and I save it. Let's see if it affects anything here. So I see this item and I see this list. Do you see the unit price? These are all the items with unit price 0. So that is the filtering. Okay, so that's what he has mentioned in the property here. All right, so I think this is about the lab that you need to do. After we are done with this is what we are going to cover tomorrow. Okay, and Priyanka, you asked me a question yesterday about the advanced filters. We will cover that here. Okay, you see these flow filters, they are the advanced filters. Okay, and on a page, uh, I can show you if okay, which page. Let's look at make customer list. You see this limit total? Okay, this limit total, when I say add, it shows me few of these filters. Okay, these are special filters, these are flow filters. Okay, like date filter. Date filter, okay, these filters are only are applied straight away to the flow fields. So these are my advanced filters. Otherwise I have advanced filters. I can add the entire table down here. Okay, you see all of them. I can go on the top if there are some fields missing, and I can go down if there are any fields missing. So this is nothing but a simple filter, though it is mentioned as advanced, but actually the limit total filters are a bit advanced filters because these are special filters. Okay, it shows only a list of these because these are special filters in customer table which applies to some special fields. So we will see this, we'll cover this tomorrow. It's a very important topic. Okay, so we leave this here for tomorrow. Any questions for what we see today? Any questions?
So,
Yeah.
similar to the property of the fields, can we define our own triggers?
No. Triggers and properties are predefined.
Okay.
We can create functions, okay, but we cannot create triggers. Triggers and properties are predefined. We cannot change them.
Okay.
Anything else?
So, what are flow fields?
Flow fields, we'll cover it tomorrow. It's
Okay, sir.
I kept that topic purposely for tomorrow because that needs a special attention, and that is of a very special kind, and it's very unique to Navision Dynamics NAV. Okay, so we'll explicitly cover it tomorrow.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Like you made a field with range, you made a field percentage with the range 0 to 100.
Yeah.
So, like if I put the range as 100 to 200, so is there any validation whether
No.
it's correct mathematically or
No,
not?
no, it does not. There's no such validation. It allows.
So the user has a control of the range.
No, we have to restrict the user.
The designer has the.
Yes, the designer, the developer has to restrict it. Okay. Anything else? Okay. What I suggest is do this lab today. Don't leave it for tomorrow because for the flow fields and all, it's important that you need to know the basic concepts of table and fields. Okay. So do not postpone it for tomorrow. It's a very easy lab, and it's just a rep of what we have seen now. Okay, so please do that, don't miss it without fail. Any other questions? So if there is any, just email it, and please make sure that you keep everyone in CC. You mark a CC to everyone, including Luis. So whenever I repeat or any other trainer repeats, it will be answered to all. So maybe each of you will face the same problem, so it will be resolved. Or maybe if someone of you has already covered that topic, okay, so he can reply. Don't wait for the trainers to reply. So let us build an ecosystem around here, so which where each of us help each other. Okay. Are we clear?
Yes, sir.